to today's call. So today we have Ashli Haynes with us. Ashli is an intuitive tarot reader, clairvoyant, claircognizant, clairsentient, and medical intuitive. She incorporates elements of astrology, numerology, and color therapy in her readings. As an intuitive reader, Ashli channels divine messages from spirit to help you gain clarity and healing. She uses tarot as a tool of divination and to receive guidance that empowers you to shift the trajectory of your life in service of your highest good. Affirm your own intuition when you're aligned with your soul's mission, and equip you with the tools necessary to move forward in life from a place of love and compassion. Ashli has shared with me that her mission is to help others tap into into their divine gifts and open themselves up to receive and claim the abundance that is their divine birthright by the way of tarot and her intuition. Amongst the many other things that you're also going to learn about her, many of her intuitive gifts, she also is a herbalism enthusiast, an attuned Reiki 2 healer, and a maker of magical intention candles for the ascension-focused, self-empowered manifester who's ready to honor their divinity within by claiming their divine birthright to abundance, love, and healing. Ashli, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the call.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I kept getting mixed up because in the back of my mind, and it's something I want to talk to everybody about, not only are you all these things, but when you and I connected, you told me that you converted your own bus. So I actually have you as Ashli Tarot on Wheels on my calendar because you're literally traveling all around on your converted bus and you're seeing people and I don't even know where to start with you. Like, I love everything I just read in your bio, the things you've done. I've seen the bus. It's amazing. Let's start with the intuition and healing, and then we'll get to the bus. How did this start for you?
Wow. Okay. So, I've always been intuitive, but I didn't necessarily trust my intuition. I just kind of, growing up, I just kind of doubted it and credited my intuition to just being really smart. But I would know things without really knowing how I knew them.
Right.
And then I was always fascinated with tarot, with the metaphysical, astrology, psychics. So I would seek out other psychics and healers, but I would also magnetically attract them all my life. Like from the time I was, like an early teenager, psychics would stop me in the street and then tell me things would happen or tell me about my life. And then those very things would happen. So I've always been passionate about it. I've always been open to it. I've always believed in magic. It wasn't until I would say I experienced, maybe not my first, but definitely a relatively impactful dark night of the soul in 2018. It was the first Mercury retrograde of that year. And literally, I could not leave my home without running into someone from my past. Like, so within a 2.5 week span, I ran into 11 people from my past, and not just like random people, but people that I had had really strong experiences with that mostly left me feeling really badly. Okay. So then I noticed that like when I would see them, I'd be brought back to the moment in time where we had left off, whether that had been, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 6 months ago. It's like I had realized that I had not allowed myself to process my emotions or even admit to myself that I had these emotions. And so they just stayed with me. And I had been unable to emotionally move past and let go of these experiences. Mm-hmm. So then by the time that 2.5 week span was over, I realized that, there was obviously room for me to heal and grow, because I did not want to be stunted in any way. I had also become just more aware of my own patterns, my own patterns and the way I had repeated experiences with different people throughout my life. So I realized the universe was trying to send me some sort of message. That at the time I was really into photography. So that inspired me to do a project where I would photograph women who had been through traumatic experiences and felt like they made it to the end with some sort of shift in perspective. So I'd photograph these women, have them fill out surveys. One of my subjects happened to have studied spiritual psychology at the University of Santa Monica. So I became really fascinated with spiritual psychology. She invited me to my first women's circle. At the women's circle, I didn't even know what, actually, she didn't invite me. I invited myself. I didn't even know what a women's circle was, but I was like, I know I have to be there. You know what I mean? So I drove all the way out to Rancho Cucamonga from Hollywood to go to this circle. And I met this amazing woman who had talked to me about her own daily spiritual practice of grounding that involved prayer, meditation, journaling, affirmations, clearing her space with sage and Palo Santo, reading spiritual books like A Course in Miracles, and doing some sort of physical activity like yoga. So then I had actually already studied yoga and become certified in teaching yoga years prior, but I had just kind of distanced myself from that, or I just like fell out of that practice. So when she talked about herself and suggested that maybe I find grounding, I didn't even know I at the time, I hadn't even really had a clear understanding of what grounding was to know that I wasn't grounded. I was just really in my head all of the time. I'm an Aquarius, that's a cerebral sign, so it makes sense. Anyway, so I started this practice for myself. Every day I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I did it for a year, and even within the first 21 days, I had experienced this phenomenal shift. I felt more in tune with myself. I did feel more grounded. I felt inspired. I could feel the healing happening. Like I felt healthier mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I also, like, as I realized that as I had consistently meditated and journaled, I would start to receive just information, downloads, right? And I would write all of these things out. And then going back when I would read them, I wouldn't even remember writing this stuff. Like it wasn't coming from me. So by the summer of that year, I became sober, and that also cleared me up, or helped bring clarity as well. And that just really, so by the end of that year, before the end of that year, I gravitated towards working with herbs and making oils. And then I started having visions of making candles, and I kind of like would try to forget about it, but it just kept coming back to me, even while I was in the middle of having conversations that had absolutely nothing to do with spirituality or candles or yoga or anything. Like I would just start seeing this stuff, and I'm like, okay, finally, I guess I got to make them. So by the end of 2018, instead of going out to celebrate the new year and drink, I just stayed home and watched videos on numerology. And that spiraled
Only
into
spiritual people will be like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah. And that spiraled into videos on tarot. And I had actually coincidentally bought my first deck in 2017, and I played with it and then kind of put it to the side, but I got back to it afterwards. And I had learned tarot without actually even setting the intention to learn tarot. But my New Year's resolution for 2019 was to do everything with intention and live intentionally. And so that's what I did. And that year really, 2018 catapulted me into the change, but it was 2019 that actually really changed my life. Everything I wanted, I just started manifesting. You know what I mean? Like it literally just changed like that. And so I guess that's what really, that whole experience is what really opened me up to become more consciously spiritual.
That's a hell of a story, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So you say you've always were intuitive when you were a kid. You just didn't see it. People would come randomly up to you, blah, blah, blah. Like it was in there. You had it. you didn't realize it until the year that you realize it. And the reason I'm saying it's a hell of a story, it's because it all happened like bang, bang, and bang. Like you're ready to wake up. You decided, like I wrote it down, to do everything with intention. You started your grounding practice. You did this, like you focused on it and your gifts opened up.
Exactly.
And that's what I tell a lot of people. It's like, you know me by now. My mind goes everywhere in the sense of, it's not that I'm being politically correct or not, but I get pissed off at people like you because I get envious. I have spent like the last 25 years in metaphysics and studying and this, and things will happen. And then I hear stories like, no, just 1 year I woke up and by the end of the year, everything changed. It's like, God damn it. but if I wouldn't have gone through all those things, I wouldn't be where I am. And I wouldn't have all the knowledge and skills that I do. And to be honest, I'm glad to be able to know all of that because I can guide other people with wherever they're at, because I've been at so many stages that it's like, oh, I've been there, I can help you. Oh, I've been there, I can help you. But with you, what's cool is what you just said, like the tarot, you didn't even have to study it that hard. It just opened up like all your other gifts. So that's the part that I think is super cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the tarot, because this series, I want people to realize from different people like yourself and different oracle cards and like everybody else. Okay, let's talk about it this way. How would you have described in your preteen years the tarots versus how you would describe them today? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Honestly, in my preteen years, I probably lacked the vocabulary, so I wouldn't have even known how to describe it. At 9 years old, I'd find myself in my room cutting out cutting out pictures from magazines, or cutting up pieces of paper and drawing them, or even using like a deck of cards and assigning meaning to all of the cards and shuffling them and asking questions and reading. But I didn't even know what I was doing. Like I didn't have the vocabulary to say what it was. And honestly, I don't even remember the first time I actually saw my first tarot reader and got my first reading. I know it was when I was a teenager. So I probably would have just described it like that. Oh, it's just, cards that have meanings, and you're able to, ask them questions. They're magical cards. That's what I would have said. Okay. But now I understand that it just has so much more meaning, or it's so much bigger than that. And so when I talk to people about my work with tarot specifically, I say I use tarot as a tool of divination to receive messages, guidance, clarity, affirm when you're on the right path, and empower you to make your own decisions and shift the trajectory of your life if that's what you want to do. So it's a tool of divination, really, because the messages aren't coming from me. They're coming from spirit. I'm simply just channeling.
Nice. Very nice. And the reason I ask is because, like you very well just said, you didn't have the language to understand what this was when you were younger. And yet your soul knew what it was doing. Like the human little girl you was just playing with cutout papers and playing a game. But the soul, have you ever seen yourself in a past life or something that you knew or you know of, that you were, I don't know, a gypsy, a tarot reader, a shaman or something, or no?
No, I've only had one flash of myself from a past life, but it was actually like a really traumatic image. And I have no idea what it came from, but like it had nothing to do with that. Like I was literally in a state of shock, cradling someone, just in tears, crying. And it wasn't my face, but I knew it was me. Okay.
Well, we can talk about this after camera, because I think I already saw your past life. Which will explain a lot, so it might be. But okay, and the other reason I want to do this is precisely because you do help people, and you just expressed it beautifully. You help people by channeling what it is that they can't see for themselves, are my words. and allow them to choose a different path or direction or understand what's going on if they want it. But it's not you telling them. And I think that maybe Hollywood or maybe, you know, all these things have made out the tarot to be like not a divination of good, but the witches and the bad and the evil, and you're working with the devil and blah, blah, blah. And that's exactly why I wanted to bring you and other people on this season, because I'm kind of tired of that. Like, there are so many stereotypes and so much taboo that is talked around this. And it's such a beautiful divination because it does help you tap into see things where you help other people.
Absolutely. I feel like um I know exactly what I want to say. I'm just trying to figure out how to say it. So, when it comes to Hollywood and entertainment, the money for them, like their ability to make money, lies in demonizing whatever you want to call this, spirituality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically when it has to do with practices that come from other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
They have to turn it into something evil and sexual and demonic in order to get people interested, because we as a society have been conditioned to find the deviant attractive. But that's only because historically this country is predominantly Christian. So I feel like it's all rooted in not just like religious conditioning, but also the whitewashing of it all. So anything that isn't white is not of the light, and everything that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I guess it's difficult for me to really break it down, but I feel like it's all really rooted in just systemic oppression, really. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I don't really know how much else I want to say about that, but yeah.
That's fine. But that's exactly, like, in other words, that's exactly what I think and what I feel. So I was raised here in this country. I am half Colombian and half Puerto Rican. Even in the other countries and in many countries, and that's the thing, it's been kind of worldwide, much more. There are fewer cultures that are so open and calm about it, and they're normalized. So, for example, I went to Spain December of 2019. Walking on the street, obviously, you see gypsies. Movies show gypsies in a completely different way. You recognize they're gypsies because there's a vibe, there's a thing, and I mean, you see it. Like, it's not, but it's not like, you know, they're dressed like gypsies or anything. And a few of them would have their table and have their cards. And people in Spain are so used to it because it's part of their culture. They have been around forever. And gypsies are a culture, which is something that a lot of people don't understand. It is their culture. But then again, it's like the fear. Let's talk about wherever it is. What we don't know and what we have been told is bad, because we don't understand it. They label it as fear, and anything that is fear is of the devil or is evil. And that's the part that I'm like, no, you know, like, okay, I'll share a part of my story. When I was a teen, young teen, I fell in love with tarot cards and I bought them. And actually, I think those are the ones I still have. So I'm not going to say how old they are, but those are the ones I still have. And I have bought so many books to learn to read the cards. It is not a gift that I have. Like, you have a gift. You were able to just simply, because it's something that is of you, it's of your soul. With me, I use them. And whatever I remember the card says, I just let it speak to me because it's intuition. So regardless, I don't need to know it, but I don't read it for other people because I'm not 100% sure that that's what it really means. I just know that that's what it means for me. But as I grew up, people in my own household were like, you can't tell people you go to tarot readers. You can't go and do this. You can't. And I was like, why? Obviously, I follow the family dynamic. Obviously, I didn't want them to get pissed off. Obviously, you do the good little girl thing in my case. And that's why, again, I created this talk show. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I go on other podcasts and I talk about this. It's time for people to realize there's nothing odd or wrong with divination, whether it's the divinity, the cards. I've had I'm translating shells read to me. I've had so many things. It depends on the person. If the person wants to do evil with anything, even write a freaking book about whatever, if their intention is evil, the thing they use is going to be towards the negative. But that doesn't mean that everybody who uses that is bad or negative or is going to put a spell on you. That was one that really busted me.
Okay, exactly. Yes, no, exactly. I completely agree. And also I feel like people just, well, yeah, it comes from fear. It comes from not understanding. It comes from not really having the interest to understand or learn because they already have their bias, or they're already just perpetuating their own conditioning, and they're projecting their fear onto whatever it is they're viewing. They're not actually seeing it for what it is. And yes, people have their own intentions, right? And so absolutely, I'm just repeating what you're saying. It's like, if you want to do, evil work, then that's what you're going to do. If you want to do good work, then that's what you're going to do. But also there is this, like, people are afraid of even exploring their own shadows. Like, they're even afraid of doing their own shadow work. It's like there's beauty that comes with contrast. You can't truly know healing even without having a clear understanding of what it is that you're trying to heal. You know what I mean? Like, and so with the light is the dark. They have to coexist. There is, I mean, in a way, it's like, what is bad? What is evil? You know what I mean? In that, like, obviously we know what makes us feel bad. And I think because we know what makes us feel pain, fear, traumatized, we judge it or assert it to be bad. However, it's those moments of dissatisfaction, it's those moments of depression, it's those moments of trauma that catapult us into, or that let us know, okay, something needs to change, and we want to go in a new direction because we don't want to feel this way anymore. So it all has its purpose. And I feel like the healing really lies in having an appreciation for the contrast in general.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's what you said is so true. People are scared to look into their own shadow, and just the fact that we call it a shadow, people are already like, "Oh, that's dark. I don't want to go there," because they're scared. And again, they're scared of the unknown. They're scared of what they're going to find. Okay, but I have a question for you. When I was younger, early teens, I used to have the tarot read for me for fun. As I grew up, I used to have it read for me because I needed help with something and I needed to understand what the beep was happening with my life. Now, like I said, I'll do it for me, for myself. And I collect oracle decks like that. I absolutely love and I collect. So there are days that I'll spend, like that grounding routine you talked about in the morning. I actually wrote it down for me because I haven't been doing that lately. But what I used to do to ground myself was precisely read A Course in Miracles or a spiritual book that I'm reading at the time, or like any of those books, or I'll write, like I would channel, which I haven't done in a really long time, full confession. But I would take out cards. That for me was my grounding. Like the Course in Miracles or whatever I was reading was like a practice. That was like a practice. but the cards for me was like, this is me. And I would take out sometimes 2, 3, 4 decks. I would spend like half the morning in my morning. I think that's why I stopped, because I would spend like half the morning in my grounding thing, because I was like, oh, what does this one say? What is, well, let me take out this oracle deck and see what this. And the thing is, what I want people to understand, I'm going to get to my question, I promise. But what I want people to understand is, when the universe has a message, it has a message. I would take out from different oracle decks in one sitting, and all the cards would say the exact same thing. I'll take cards to my women's circles when I facilitate them, and I will end the women's circle with everybody pulling a card. I freak out every single time, because every card every person took out is like the wrap up of wherever we went that night. So my question to you is, when people come to you now for a reading, what are the reasons for them coming, generally speaking?
I love that. Like the wrap up with the oracle cards at the end of the women's circle. That's beautiful. Usually people, they want to know about career, their love life. Some people want to know about their health, their family. They want help navigating how to handle endings. And sometimes they just feel lost and they want to know which direction they should take. Mm-hmm. It's all, it's all life stuff, right? And it's all things that we all experience. But sometimes people are just wanting help from an outside, I don't want to say outside perspective. Maybe they come in thinking that that's what they want, but really I've found that they're just seeking affirmation from what they've already been receiving intuitively anyway.
Okay.
Because I can't tell you how many times people have said, oh my God, you literally just said what my friend just told me, or what I just thought like last night, or you know what I mean? It's literally, it's like oftentimes I'm not saying anything new. They've already been receiving those messages, but when they come to me, then they know, oh, now I have to listen.
Right.
Like you said, Spirit's always communicating with us. Spirit's always sending us messages, sending us signs, giving us guidance. The question really is, are we open to receiving it? Do we actually want the assistance? Are we ready to receive the guidance?
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to ask you, because like I said, different points in my life, I would go for different reasons. At the beginning, it was just for fun. Do you have any kind of people that come to you maybe for the first time, that they're like, I've never done this and I just want to see what comes out? Like, do you still get any of those?
Sometimes, yeah, but I found that even, it's funny because yesterday I actually got a child. A grandmother came in with her grandson who was like maybe 11, and he wanted a reading. And I was like, okay, sure, if grandma says it's okay. Right. But I found that even adults who say, oh, I just want to, I've never had my cards read, usually they have something on their mind. Okay. And it's like once the cards come out, they're like, oh my God, I was really thinking that, or right. So right. Yeah, even the people that say they don't want to know anything, they actually do.
Right. Well, that's true. Okay. I can see that. Totally see that. Now, I want to get to talk to you about your bus. You know where this was going. So when you and I met and you told me that you converted your own bus and you transform it, and that's actually where you do the readings and everything.
Yes, finally. Yes.
Okay. So talk to me about that, because here we have the pictures. It came out absolutely, I don't even know what word to use. It's like magical and enchanting and cute and like, wow, like it's just such an impressive job that I wanted to share with you. So what's your plan for it? How did that come out? What are people's reactions when they see it, or they come, or what?
So I call it the Star Magic School Bus because I converted a short school bus, and my vision all along was for it to feel magical and enchanted and like a secret garden, and I wanted this feeling of intimacy and hominess, and I wanted it to be inviting, but I also wanted it to feel like you're indoors but outdoors. And so I intentionally decorated it to look like an enchanted garden. And it has French windows and skylights, and I open all of them every chance I get, and it's amazing. And so what inspired me to do the idea was because I had been reading in various metaphysical shops in Los Angeles, and I noticed that the dynamic between shop owners and practitioners is actually quite exploitative. People will try to dictate your prices, and you are your own business, so that in itself is illegal. They will demand that you pay them between 30 to 50% of your earnings, which in itself, because you are your own business, that is illegal as well. But they say that it's rent. But a percentage of your earnings is not rent. Rent is a flat fee. So maybe that's the loophole, but it's still, regardless of whether or not it's illegal or legal, it's unethical. And I, being that all of the metaphysical shop owners in the city of Los Angeles are white, as a woman of color, as a Black woman, I had a huge problem with it. It didn't sit right for me within my spirit. And so I knew I had to create my own space. At the time, getting a storefront, renting out a storefront didn't really feel accessible to me. And so I decided, what would be really cool? A mobile business. Also because from my experience in working in these shops, because they are immobile, there are days in the week where they just sit there unbusy. You know what I mean? That's not good for anybody. And so I decided to take control of my life. And I went out, actually as soon as I decided that I wanted to do a mobile metaphysical shop or a tarot shop on wheels, I drew it out. I needed to know, I had a vision of what I wanted it to look like, and I drew it out so that I could actually see it. And then a month after I drew my drawing, I found my bus, and it was amazing. I called up a friend and I'm like, hey, you want to take a road trip with me to San Diego? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And so we drove to San Diego, found the bus, got it checked out by a mechanic. It was great. I bought it on the spot, drove it back. Then as soon as I got it, I just started ripping out the seats and ripping out the floor. And I tried hiring I tried hiring different carpenters, but I found that when you have a bus and not a house, no one that's union is going to touch you. It's not considered a union project. And when you're working with people who aren't in the union, it's a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? There are so many people out there, especially me being, a single woman, young. So many guys just try, and it's predominantly, male industry. So many guys just tried to take advantage of me, either by lying to me, telling they could do things they actually didn't know how to do and didn't care to learn how to do, trying to overcharge me. It was just ridiculous. And so I got tired of being fed up, and I just decided, you know what? I had already been watching these videos on YouTube anyway. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it myself and see what happens, because I know that if I do something and I mess up, I'm not gonna just say, oh, well, it's messed up. I'm actually gonna fix it. And it took me a year. I literally would soon get up, walk my dog, feed him, and then go out and work on the bus all day.
It took you a year from when you bought it, or it took
from
you
when I bought it
when you decided to do it yourself?
From when I bought it. Yeah. But it's done now, finally. And it was worth it. It was a lot of hard work. Literally blood, sweat, and tears went into creating this bus. But
Imagine.
it's gorgeous. It turned out better than I had ever dreamed it could be. And I'm so proud and so happy. And so, I feel like because, my energy went into physically building it,
Mm-hmm.
it's the space is really just an extension of me.
And I
And
was
when
about to
people
say that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, when people come in, they're just like, wow, oh my God, it's so beautiful. They're in awe. And it feels so good to know that, like, this thing that I've created, this space that I've created, it's inviting people in. It's making them feel at home, because that's the exact intention that I had initially, that I've always wanted. So
What I
it's
just
been
thought
great.
of? I'm sorry.
But
You know what I just thought of?
but
You literally said when you stop working at the shops, you said, I need to create a space for myself. I need to create a space of my own. You manifested that you created a space of your very own because you actually freaking built it and you own it.
yeah.
Like, I don't know, it just clicked me like, that's exactly what she said. I'm like, huh, word by word.
I
Okay.
guess that's why we need to be very mindful of the words that we say, because you might end up getting exactly what you asked for, exactly what you wished for, even not knowing that that's exactly what you wished for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The funny thing with me, at least in myself, is that I'll notice things like that when I had been sarcastic, but the universe doesn't understand sarcasm. So it was like, oh, that's what, here you go. It's like, no, gotcha. But yeah, no, and it turned out great. When you sent me the pictures, I mean, I can't wait to actually see it in person, honestly. So when you drive by this way, or if I drive that way, because it is the most cutest, and it is. It's super cute.
thank you.
It's inviting. Woman to woman, I am so freaking proud of you.
Thank you.
I work in remodeling and construction,
Wow.
and I know that it is a man's business. And the
Yeah.
fact that you did it yourself and doing a bus, it isn't hard in the sense of you're not building a 3-story building, but it's hard in the sense that it's not that traditional.
Right.
Not every carpenter or electrician or, insulation, the way you need to do it with the turn and the this, and it has to be mobile, but it's an RV, but it's not, but it has its tricks and you did it. So I am very happy to have connected with you. And I'm very, very honored and proud that you did it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And it's the cutest thing even for what you do, because even outside it says Tarot Reiki and
Apothecary.
yeah, I can't say that. I have it in my mind, but I can't say that. All right, honey, we are running out of time. Before we wrap up, you are on the bus. You're in the West right now. Are you planning on going? Which way are you planning on going? What's your route-ish?
So, right now I'm local to Los Angeles. However, by spring, summer of 2023, I do want to do a cross country tour.
Nice.
I haven't exactly planned out my route just yet, but I will be stopping in various cities across the country to read tarot and do Reiki.
Okay. So I wrote it down. You and I are going to stay in touch regardless. But let me know, because by spring and summer, we'll see what we can do. And if you're on a tour, we can at least figure it out, because I want to take the talk show on tour as well.
Ooh, amazing.
This is the
Yes,
first
I
time I'm
love
actually
that.
saying it outside of my head. So, um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Amazing. I'm so excited for you.
And if I ever buy a van, I don't know about a bus, but if I ever convert a van, I will definitely call you and be like, help.
Absolutely.
You want to take a road trip and come help me? But that would be pretty cool. Like, I'm doing the talk show, and that's kind of what I want. I'm doing local people here in Houston now, but they're coming into my office. But if I can go out,
Do it. Just go for it.
yeah, we'll see. We'll
Not
see.
if, when it's happening.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I said it's the first time I'm saying it out loud, but I've been thinking about it. So we'll see where it goes. Honey, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Definitely if you're going to do the cross country, how will they know where you're at, etc.?
So follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Star Magic Tarot.
Okay, perfect. So as always, it's down below in the description, but I didn't want you to say it because I do want people to actually reach out. And it's not only the support of the tarot, it's a support of being a female. It's a support of being a colored woman. It's a support of doing the things that you're doing. It's a support of you building out your own dream, literally on wheels, by your own hands. It's a support of everything. So definitely stay connected.
Thank you.
And everybody, thank you again for the call, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.